I'd just got my license and I landed a gig delivering food. It was a decent job. The pay was all right, and it gave me a chance to learn the ins and outs of the city and give me a reason to cruise the streets in my new car. But on this particular rainy night, something shook me to my core and changed how I perceived the job altogether. It was a usual nightly routine, taking orders and zipping around the city in my car. But this one particular order would take me on a route I hadn't been before, directing me to the outskirts of town. It wasn't a problem. I'd been all over the place since I started, and as I said before, the money was good. I waited for the food to be ready, the smell wafting through the restaurant making my stomach growl. It was a simple order, a burger, fries, and a drink. I grabbed the bag, feeling the warmth against my hands as I stepped back into the relentless heavy rain outside. The drive to the customer's address was more challenging than usual. The raindrops pelted the windshield, creating a blurry tapestry of city lights. I squinted through the water-streaked glass, slowing down to navigate the slippery roads. The GPS led me to a desolate stretch of road, surrounded by fields on either side. The rain intensified, turning the windshield into a watery canvas that distorted the world outside. I strained to see through the deluge, reducing my speed to a crawl. And then, something in the middle of the road caught my eye. A dark mass that looked like an animal. Instinctively, I hit the brakes and pulled over. I left the headlights on, creating a narrow beam of light to help me see through the rainy darkness. I opened the car door and stepped out into the rain, slamming the door behind me. I approached cautiously, but when I got closer, I realized it wasn't an animal at all. It was a pile of clothes scattered across the road. Confused, I turned to head back to the car. The rain had soaked through my clothes and I wanted to get back on the road. But as I neared the car, something caught my eye. The door to my car was wide open. I paused, my heart pounding in my chest. I didn't leave it like that. Panic surged through me as I sprinted back, rain-soaked and shivering. The food would be getting cold, but that was the least of my worries. When I reached the car, I hesitated before getting in. The interior was empty, but the unsettling feeling lingered. I quickly glanced around, checked the back seat. No one in sight. I got back in the car, the rainwater from my clothes now soaking into the car seat. Fury boiled within me as I realized I'd been robbed. Without thinking, I flung the car door open, rain running down my face and curses pouring from my mouth. "You think you're smart, huh? Can't have gone far watching me like some sick game," I ranted, scanning the darkness for any sign of the thief. Mid-sentence, I caught movement from the corner of my eye. A hooded figure emerged from the shadows, a glint of metal catching my attention. My breath hitched as I saw the gun drawn, the reality of the situation hitting me like a punch to the gut. Without a second thought, I dove back into the car, slamming the door shut. Panic surged through me as I fumbled for the keys, hands shaking. The engine roared to life, and I peeled out, rain-slicked roads be damned. The hooded figure, now more distinct in the rearview mirror, stood motionless in the rain. I tore down the road, heart pounding, the adrenaline-fueled escape drowning out the sound of rain against the roof. I didn't stop until I reached my base. My hands gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white, as I tried to process the close call. When I finally made it back, I reported the incident to the police. I provided them with all the details I could muster, but the investigation seemed to lead nowhere. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, with no updates or breakthroughs. The police report became a mere document, filed away, its significance dwindling in the face of more pressing matters. In the end, the incident became a silent chapter in my journey as a delivery driver, a cautionary tale whispered among colleagues. The routine resumed, but the thrill was replaced by a vigilance born out of the realization that danger could strike unexpectedly. I'd been a delivery driver for quite a while, cruising the city streets and earning my keep by shuttling pizzas and other fast food delights to hungry customers. It wasn't the most glamorous job, but it allowed me to do what I loved, listen to music and drive. It was basically what I did in my spare time before the job anyway, so why not get paid for it, right? One particularly icy evening, around 12 p.m., another delivery popped up on my screen. Just 2 pizzas. Nothing out of the ordinary. The address was a bit off the usual routes, but a job was a job, and the promise of a tip fueled my motivation. I hopped into my trusty car, the familiar scent of pizza wafting through the interior. The roads were treacherous, the gritters having only just started their rounds. I took extra care navigating the icy terrain, my tires crunching over the salt. The rhythm of my favorite tunes played in the background, the music becoming the soundtrack to my nightly drive. As the car hummed along the deserted road, I succumbed to the temptation to skip a song on my playlist. It was just a momentary distraction, but in that brief lapse I looked up to see the glowing taillights of a car directly in front of me. Panic surged through me as I swerved to avoid a collision, but it was too late. The car spun in the icy road, pizzas flying off the seat and landing unceremoniously in the footwell. Frustration boiled over as I cussed and swore, the adrenaline from the near miss coursing through my veins. I took a moment to collect myself before stepping out into the frigid night to assess the damage. The deserted road stretched out before me, the only other vehicle stopped a short distance away. My anger morphed into confusion as I approached the stationary car. Its windows were shattered, and blood adorned the driver's side door and seat. My breath caught in my throat as I realized that, despite the apparent damage, there was no sign of the driver. The eerie stillness of the night amplified the unsettling scene. I fumbled for my phone, my fingers trembling as I dialed the emergency number. The dispatcher assured me that help was on the way, and I recounted the bizarre scenario, leaving out the momentary lapse of attention that had led to the near accident. The pizzas sat forgotten in my car, a surreal backdrop to the unfolding mystery. Within minutes, the flashing lights of a police car illuminated the dark road. The officers approached, their expressions masked by professionalism. I relayed the events once more, sticking to the version of the story that omitted my distraction. The police surveyed the scene, their flashlights cutting through the darkness. "What happened here?" I asked, a sense of unease settling over me. The officers exchanged glances, and one responded, "This is a police matter now. We'll be in touch if we need anything more." Their cryptic response left me with more questions than answers. As the police continued their investigation, I retrieved the abandoned pizzas from the footwell of my car and pressed on with my shift, the promise of the tip now well and truly gone. After that night, things just felt off. I kept making my deliveries, but the thrill of the music and the road had lost its edge. The memory of the shattered car, the blood, and the unexplained absence of the driver lingered in my mind. The police never reached out, and the incident, to my knowledge, remained unresolved. I never even saw anything on the local news or in the papers about it either. I stopped dwelling on it eventually, but the routine of delivering pizzas has never quite regained its luster. The music played on, the road stretched out before me, but the road felt different, haunted by the memory of the deserted car and a mystery that slipped through the cracks of the night. The night was like any other, driving in my car with the radio playing in the background and the anticipation of delivering another round of late-night meals. As an Uber Eats driver, I'd become accustomed to the variety of orders, from solo diners to families craving a feast. But one particular order stood out, not only for its contents, but for the destination, a remote car park just outside of town. The app pinged with the familiar notification, indicating a large order of over 20 burgers. I figured there must be some kind of party or gathering in that desolate car park, but hey, a delivery is a delivery. I picked up the sizable order and set out on the road, the scent of burgers filling the car. As I approached the destination, my headlights cut through the darkness, revealing an empty lot except for a solitary white pickup truck. Odd, I thought, but whatever. I pulled alongside the truck, rolled down my window, and called out, "Order for Mike?" The guy in the driver's seat nodded, accepting the bags of burgers. "Have a good night," he said. The size of the order caught my attention, and I couldn't help but ask, "That's a lot of food. Having a party or just really hungry?" He shot me a steely gaze, replied with a cryptic, "Something like that," and promptly rolled up his window. I shrugged it off, assuming he wasn't in the mood for small talk. Little did I know this encounter would unravel into something far more mysterious. I continued on my route, still curious about the enigmatic guy and the odd location for such a substantial food delivery. As I drove in the same direction, I noticed the white pickup truck a fair distance ahead of me. A few miles down the road, his brake lights illuminated the night, and he pulled to the side, turning off his lights. I slowed down, keeping a cautious distance. What was he doing? The curiosity got the better of me, and I kept my eyes on his truck, wondering about the strange turn of events. Suddenly, his lights flicked back on, and he started tailgating me aggressively, flashing his high beams. Confused and a bit alarmed, I decided to pull over, hoping to diffuse any tension. The white pickup truck parked behind me, and the guy stepped out, striding toward my car. My heart raced as I rolled down my window, uncertain of what was about to unfold. "Following me or something?" he grunted, his tone aggressive. Before I could explain or deny any intent to follow him, he slammed his hand down on the roof of my car, his face inches from mine. "Drive on, boy, and don't let me catch you following me again if you know what's good for you." Shaken and bewildered, I hastily nodded, watching him return to his truck. As I merged back onto the road, the encounter left me with a lingering sense of unease. What was he hiding, and where was he headed that was so secretive? The rest of my deliveries went by in a blur, the strange encounter replaying in my mind. The mystery of the large order, the remote car park, and the intimidating confrontation lingered, unanswered questions hanging in the air like an unresolved plotline. The night, once a routine of food deliveries, had taken an unexpected turn, leaving me with a tale that begged for answers I would not get.